right. It looks like we're getting started. And boy, oh boy, am I excited to be here today. Hey, everybody, I want to welcome all of you to the Hotel Business Hot Topics virtual panel series. I'm really excited about today. Before we do that, I wanted to let you know I'm Glenn Hausman. I'm the host of the No Vacancy Live podcast, and I'm so excited for the brand new year. New year, new opportunities, a chance to reinvent yourselves, reinvent your businesses, and make sure that you have what it takes to compete in this ever and changing but incredible marketplace. Now, we're going to be talking about a whole lot of stuff, but the good news is there's a PDF of all of the trends that we're going to be talking today that'll help drive your business, available right here in the chat room. And then I'm sure it'll be associated with it, this podcast as well. Also, I'd like to say, you can always drop us an email and we'll be able to send that over to you since you registered for this event. Again, I'm Glenn Hausman. I want to thank you all for being here. Today, we're going to be talking about Decoding 2024. What is it that you need to know to solve for success? Because really, apparently, no matter what the apparent challenge is out there, there is always opportunity, right? We saw that in 2020, in the darkest days of the hospitality industry, light quickly followed. New paths were opening up for us to find success. And to understand that opportunity, all right, you need to be able to see it. So today we're going to be talking to great leaders with our industry, talking about how they're focusing their resources in 2024 to maximize profitability, even as they try to understand some of these unexpected obstacles we're going to be facing this year. So to get us started, and since it's a new year, I made a resolution to change things up a little bit. So I'm going to go in reverse alphabetical order today to announce all of our panelists out there. So coming up with an S, we got Natasha Scott, VP Operations, Performance, and Strategy with IHG Hotels and Resorts, followed by Richard Sandoval, VP of Operations with Spire. Jeff Porterfield, of course, he is Entegra's SVP of Client Services and Chief Customer Officer. Brian DeCourt, COO with Hotel Equities, and rounding out our great panel, Adam Cannon, Chief Brand Officer with G6. Hey, folks, it's so great to see you today. Hope everyone's doing really well out there. So let me get this started right out of the gate. I'm going to start with you, Natasha. How are you seeing 2024? Where do you think is your biggest opportunity this year?
Yeah, I think there's a ton of opportunities in 2024. I mean, I think what we've seen over the past few years is that even in the darkest days, as you mentioned, there continues to be light. And I think the industry and the foundation of the travel just remains incredibly strong. I think we continue to see travel demand. I think experiences and, what guests are looking for, our hotels and our industry are really well positioned for that. I think the fundamentals remain really strong. And I think that 2024 is another great year for us to capitalize on that opportunity and continue to deliver great guest experiences.
That's fantastic. So I do want to stress to everybody out there that sometimes when we talk about these things, some of the different silos of the hospitality industry all get mixed together. So I want you to keep a sharp eye on, sometimes we'll be talking about operations. Sometimes we might be talking about development and other elements as well that play into this. So Brian, since you got the center square today, you've got to be our Paul Lynn today. So what are some of the emerging trends you're seeing out there? And I expect a good joke to start us off.
I don't have any good jokes, but I'm so excited that you didn't bring any of that typical Glenn energy to today's panel.
Listen, people have been saying, dude, you really gotta pick it up a little bit. You gotta pick it up.
Yeah. Hey, look, I appreciate the opportunity. Yeah. Thanks for the time. I would agree with a lot of what Natasha just started with. We're bullish on fundamentals. Mm-hmm. We're excited about what we're seeing in terms of consumer trends. I think we think that unique and immersive experiences will continue to lead the day. We think that as economy improves and fundamentals continue to improve, obviously that's good for everybody on this call and listening. Right. So in terms of rate growth, we continue to see that year over year. That helps us offset some of that inflation and wage pressure that we've all experienced over the last several years. But there is no question, folks are traveling again. Corporate travel is starting to come back. We're excited about 2024 and the prospects that it brings.
That's right. And I just got numbers hot off the press from our friends at CoStar and STR, and it looks like ADR is expected to climb over 4 points with RevPAR at 4.1% this year. pretty amazing considering the circumstances. Adam, I see you nodding your head over there. That's got to be making you feel pretty good overall.
Yeah, it's it's kind of a double-edged sword. The rate gains continue to grow, which I think is great for our hoteliers, but 4% rate gain and a 4% RevPAR gain means you're not getting much from occupancy, right? So, I think for us, it provides a great opportunity. We typically skew heavier on the West Coast of the US. So I think there's a lot of opportunities for recovery, in those markets. And then, we also have hit critical mass on our Studio 6 extended stay brand. And, extended stay is running about 10 points of an occupancy premium to transient. So you kind of put those two things together, there's some opportunity. I think the biggest thing is, if you remember last year, we were still doing pretty good at this point last year. So we've got some tough comps in Q1 to kind of get through. But once spring hits, I think there's going to be a lot of opportunity, and there is a lot of demand out there. So
that's exactly the sentiment I'm seeing as well, Adam. Jeff, I'll get to you in 1 second because I want to hear something very specific from you. But Richard, building upon what Adam just said, how do you see that, particularly when it comes to maybe the spread in profitability due to the inflation that we've seen and some of your rising expenses?
Yeah, I think everyone's right. There's a tremendous amount of opportunity. Last year was supposed to be the return to service. It somehow turned into the year of the lender and interest rate and flow impacts, right? And we're still going to experience that.
Right.
So Adam's right? When you do 4% and you start talking about your wage pressure and your inflation and those things, margin management is still a big deal.
Yeah.
And one of the big factors, we keep on saying that we're going to return to service, get more experiential, get back to basics. Well, one of the basics that we're focused on this year is, that leadership at the middle management department head level. Because like Mike Tyson said, everyone has a plan till they get punched in the face, right? And our department heads show up and they have a plan until someone calls out sick, right? So we got to get them refocused on the important and not the urgent. And we're really going to focus on trying to have a leadership plan that allows them to both manage margins, focus on our team, and then get the guest experience delivered. So.
Right. And I want to encourage everybody out there. We want to answer your questions. I see we got an incredible group of you out there today. So take a moment, chat with us, put your question in that box, and we'll try to get to it. Jeff said magical term, managing margins, right? And this is kind of what I wanted to get to you. We've had so much inflation in the cost of goods and services, let alone the fact that labor in the hospitality industry, and those people deserve to get paid, have increased faster than other sectors that are out there. So how are you thinking about how hoteliers can be more successful in managing those margins and send more money to that bottom line?
Glenn, great question. We recognize that Entegra operators need to be very nimble and ready to adjust their strategies. And I think this is where Entegra comes in, right? Allowing operators to hit the easy button for their procurement needs and allowing you to spend, and some of the panelists had mentioned it, more time with your customers in this increasingly competitive world. So how do we do that, right? We're looking at leveraging size and scale, providing savings to our customers. We stress full transparency, right? Clarity is the key, I think, during these inflationary times. And I think that level of transparency allows our customers to optimize their purchases a little bit better, right? See all the moving pieces and allow you to make decisions, that really favorably impact your bottom line, right? So that's from back of the house efficiencies, menu ideation, services we provide, labor efficiencies, time and motion studies, as well as suggesting to our clients, right, that they consider implementing measures like locked-in order guides to allow them to rationalize their SKUs to improve efficiencies across their broader spectrum.
Yeah, I love that idea of, really streamlining everything and thinking about that. And Natasha, that's right up your alley, right? As VP of Operations, you've probably had to get creative with how you've been thinking to make sure that owners can still see a lot of profitability when they invest in an IHG property. So how are you thinking through that?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think one of the benefits of IHG is our scale. So thanks to our scale, thanks to our procurement programs, we're able to help our owners save across the entire P&L. We have a fantastic food and beverage program that over 4,100 of our hotels are leveraging today. And so we're looking at every component to try to mitigate any cost increases. And so we just need to make sure that we're being really strategic, even when it comes to, renovations. We know over the past few years, capital reserves were depleted. And so we're working strategically with owners because we want to make sure we're able to still deliver a fantastic guest experience. And so we're working with owners on really being strategic about where we're making those investments, really targeted, so that we can have kind of maximizing that guest satisfaction while also balancing the owner costs.
Right. And Jeff, that's right. That's where you come in, right? You get that blessing of having a lot of people, purchasing products through you so you can lower those expenses, right?
Absolutely, right? I mean, we work on that flexibility with our customers, right, to make those suggestions where they can really drive what their value looks like and savings. It's going to help their bottom line.
Yeah. Richard, how are you thinking about the streamlining process? Because you want to pay the people you have more, but you can only have so many people, which means you probably have to find some money elsewhere. How are you kind of working through this conundrum to make sure that you have enough people to run the property, make folks happy that are visiting those properties, and still delivering returns for your owners?
Yeah, it's always challenging, right? And it's fun to find new revenue streams that can help, talk about expenses less. We're starting to be very creative in any flex space, right? It doesn't matter if it's a parking lot, a quad. If we can figure out a way to rent it, sell it, manage it, upside revenue is good. The other thing I think as operators, with our staffing levels that we've had in the recent past,
right,
we've had a lot of overtime that's just natural and organic. Trying to get back to your basics of managing those flow items, and it doesn't matter if that's room rental, AV, overtime control, general labor. That way, you have money to pay your players, and treating everyone fairly and treating everyone the same. Is not always the same conversation. We got to play we got to pay our main drivers of our business, right? It doesn't matter if it's guest experience or our executables, so that's where we're really looking at, how can we regionalize? How can we do anything to make sure that we have money to take care of those frontline folks that are really impacting us day to day?
A great philosophy: find money elsewhere, take care of those that you need to. Brian, how are you seeing this particular issue of making sure more cash flows to the bottom line set against the backdrop of increasing expenses?
Yeah, not easy. And I think everybody has alluded to that. It's been a challenge. It's been a historical challenge in our space, but it's been magnified coming out of COVID. And whenever you have these types of black swan events that force you to step back and reset, and I think what happens is as part of that reset and level set, it also allows you to challenge your team in maybe a way that, particularly as generationally your workforce evolves, that perhaps they've never been challenged. And so they've never been through, a global financial crisis. They've never been through a 9/11 or through a recession. And so there's just no context or comparison there. It's an opportunity to teach. It's an opportunity to coach. It's an opportunity to step back and look at deployment. So we spend, Glenn, an exorbitant amount of time on deployment across the organization, as much time as we do managing the middle of the P&L. And I think, there's a hybrid, there's a balance there. And how do you take care of, to your point, I think it's such a great question, that core group, that tenured group of associates really driving performance, who's loyal to the core, who raises their hand and says, hey, I want to do more. But also balancing that with the ever-growing and changing needs kind of in the environment in terms of how you go out and recruit in the market. So heavy investment internally in training. We've always been a training-first company. We've got a whole division of our company that's dedicated to that. But I think in addition to that, it's heavy investment into the tech stack over the last several years in terms of a lot of what Jeff is referring to around ERPs and automated systems that just allow you to scale faster and provide empirical, data-driven data, if you will, that just allows you to make real-time decisions very, very quickly.
Yeah, and one of the interesting things that I think about technology is that if you're doing it right, you won't need as many people to run your hotel, which means you can take care of them in a more meaningful way as they now have more time to take care of their guests. Jeff, I'm going to want to ask you a little bit more about that labor scenario, but Adam, you're more at the corporate level, of course. So how are you thinking about helping your owners these days find more profitability? And feel free to talk about, how you're helping them solve labor problems and that sort of stuff as well.
Well, first of all, I think, when it comes to people in our industry, the more the merrier.
Right.
We need as many people as we can. We need young people to get, reinvigorated in hospitality as a career choice. That's something.
And good news, Adam. I just had on Chip Rogers, president and CEO of the American Hotel and Lodging Association, on No Vacancy Live the day before we're doing this. He said people are coming back to work in hotels. Still a little slow, but people are coming back. So please continue. Yeah.
Love it. So look, from a profitability perspective, I'm the brand guy.
Right.
So, not to make this a pitch, but I think, when top line suffers, owners look to profitability. That's why we're having this conversation.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
When you look at economy, our design and model is built to be resilient to these types of economic pressures. So, the reality is we don't have as many, service options. We don't have as many outlets. So you don't necessarily need as many people to run the hotel. But what you do need is good qualified people that are loyal and, that you can retain. So, the more that, we can get our owners, to understand how to effectively run the model, especially on the extended stay side, to make it work for them. Through training, through communications, through visits, all the things that a brand supports, the more that, that profitability becomes more apparent, the more that margin grows. So, that's in these tough economic times, that's what we're focused on as a brand.
Right. And everybody has to remember out there that engagement with your employees is so essential because there's so many soft costs involved with replacing those human beings. And if you can make them happier, they not only will take care of your guests, as is the common theme here, but won't leave and you won't lose their knowledge. You won't lose all of that time. But Jeff, you've also got to make it easier for folks, right? Because every single person has a larger, lots of issues that they're dealing with. So how do you anticipate maybe that labor challenge shifting this year? And, how can you help people overcome some of those issues?
Well, look, I think one of the things that we really have spent a lot of resources on is our technology play. And those are key levers that we deliver to our clients around digital technology innovation, that type of thing, whether it's a data analytics and management, allowing, as I mentioned before, that transparency to understand your purchasing patterns, identifying cost opportunities, to allow the owners and the property managers to spend more time in front of the house, right? That could be e-procurement strategies. That could be digital shopping assistance, right? Where we provide technology that allows the folks that are actually placing the order to see that value real time at the time of order, right? And all of our tools that I mentioned it before, all of these things are around full transparency, right? Because that enables our customers and our clients to better anticipate what that value is going to look like. And then they can see real time what that value is they're bringing to the organization and feel confident and comfortable with those projections.
All right. Makes sense. And Natasha, you've got a myriad brands, obviously. So how are you thinking about the consumer part of it? Where are they? We talked a little bit earlier about how we're seeing, RevPAR maybe increase 4.1% according to CoStar STR numbers. But what is your sentiment and what are you trying to do to make sure that they stay in a spending kind of mood?
Yeah, so I think from a consumer sentiment perspective, I think they're with inflation, they're continuing to look for more affordable options. So we see a really strong interest in the mid-scale space. We're really excited about our newly launched Garner brand. Which is right in that mid-scale conversion space, which allows us to also take another advantage of another opportunity with growing conversions. So we see a significant opportunity with that brand. And I think there's also, we talked a little bit earlier around the experience. So from our luxury and lifestyle portfolio as well, we're really excited about how our brand portfolio continues to grow to kind of take advantage of that sort of more immersive, personalized experience and the consumers at that higher end price point as well. And then, continuing to, of course, with our beloved brands as well, Holiday Inn, Holiday Inn Express, we continue to kind of provide that great space for those consumers to find a place to stay as well. So, continued strong demand across the entire portfolio that we're plugging into. And I think just like we were talking about the technology on the owner side, so much potential from a personalized experience for us to deliver to a consumer as well.
You made it easy for me to segue. Brian, personalized experience, because I've been thinking a lot over the last number of years that we have to get out of the mindset of how much we're selling a room for, how much we're selling a plate of food for, and turn that into how much are we servicing that individual and how can we maximize spend with that individual human being while gaining their loyalty. First of all, am I crazy for having that idea? And second of all, assuming that I'm not, how are you thinking about appealing to individual customers more so they'll help you bring more money to the bottom line by spending more?
Yeah, no, you're absolutely thinking about it the right way. And candidly, it's why 98% of our portfolio is brand affiliated, and with the 3 to 5 alpha brands that we all know and love and are fortunate to do business with and partner with. So I think you hit the nail on the head. Loyalty programs continue to win the day. Customizing, particularly down at the unit level, the pre-arrival experience, the use of AI with things like chatbots and virtual assistants have already been around for some time. The ability to interact with your customer in real time as they have questions, if they have issues, your ability to resolve those issues. So I think the use of technology in terms of how you interact with your consumer. And look, we're fortunate. We are really excited about what so many of our brand partners continue to do and how they evolve on that front. We'd like to think that we take that, polish it a little bit, and continue to deliver a really elevated guest experience. We're really proud of that. So I think your ability to touch that customer in a very real, very intentional, and very authentic way, pre, during, and post arrival, continue to be critical.
Yeah, I still see that post stay element as a little tricky and complicated. But Richard, how are you thinking about RevPAC, revenue per available customer out there?
Yeah, I think what Brian just said is super important, right? This leveraging the technology to be able to touch the guest, and going back to the basics, the old training of what does the guest want for this day to be great,
right?
And what we got to do is take that technology and those connection points and get into the services that we're already offering. Right. So all too often when you talk about, revenue per available customer, like where are they at? Where are they going? And how do we keep them in our buildings and in our experiences, right? So many of us are doing some great things in the food and beverage side, but half the battle is getting them to try it.
Yeah.
So I think leveraging that technology to drive them to your experiences is what's going to maximize your revenue and get, it doesn't matter if you're talking about total PAW or RevPAC, that's how you're going to grow it. You got to get them to try the things you're doing great already.
Yeah. And Adam, one of the things that you're doing great already is, affordable accommodations, and you've got a great loyal viewership about station, guest group behind you. The reason why I'm getting all messed up in my words is because I love what you're doing with this new program where you're really trying to appeal towards those younger people through music and stuff. We talked about that at your annual conference back in October. And I thought that was an interesting way to start to generate the idea of loyalty, get them while they're young with things that they're interested in that affect their lives, right?
Yeah, it's totally, Gen Z, very popular, Motel 6 brand specifically. But I think, it's call it one piece of the puzzle. Not to, to put on my marketing hat for a second, one of the things that we're really focused on that I think it's a challenge for a lot of economy brands is that, there's still a really big population of folks out there that are coming to you from either walking in the doors or calling the hotel directly, right? So, when you look at that, specifically for us, we want to get really tactical in 24, to learn more about these guests. Are they even seeing our marketing? Is our marketing reaching them? Is it strictly a price thing? Is it strictly a location thing? So, we're actually, putting some money behind this and, going a little bit more above and beyond your typical quant and qualitative data studies. We're joining forces with PwC, and, we're going to get boots on the ground, for a full customer segmentation analysis and do in-person interviews across our portfolio to really find out more about the walk-in guest. And the more that we know about them, the more that we can get marketing to them in the ways that they want it to be delivered, get them to join our My6 program where they stay longer and stay more often. So that's a big strategy for us in 24.
Yeah, I love that. Jeff, one of the ways to really connect with people, obviously, is through their stomachs, right? So one of the ways to do that, though, is connecting what the location to the food that's in that area. So how are you thinking about local sourced foods versus nationally versus internationally sourced foods to better appeal to people at the property level?
No, great question, Glenn. We don't have a preference, right? We can, whether it's local or national coverage, right? What we've worked with our customers on, and one of our strengths, quite honestly, is our beyond, what we call beyond broadline program. It's more of a regional approach, for providing our customers with more of a depth and breadth of contracted coverage to meet their needs in that particular location. Right. And it's an extension, we're an extension of the procurement department. If there is a need that you have and our customers have for a product or a service, what have you, that might be regionally based, right? We do the work for you, right? We obtain the pricing, we obtain the contract, and we customize it for your needs. And our message we give to our customers all the time is we have solutions from your parking lot to the rooftop.
Right. So, Brian, how do you think about locally sourced items versus nationally sourced items with creating a reason for people to want to eat in some of your hotels that have restaurants when they may not necessarily be staying in that hotel?
Yeah, it's a great question, and it's a question that I wish we had the answer to. I think you've got to constantly reinvent yourself and be incredibly creative in the market. I think it's a street by street, street corner fight when you are in markets that have heavy food and beverage, that have really creative, where you've got potentially affluent customers. The consumer in those markets versus, when we talk about our extended stay, and obviously some of the limited food and beverage options are a bit different. But our food and beverage team, we're really proud of them. They take a very curated approach to how they do that. We give them a lot of autonomy. We love the whole farm to table concept. It's been, in play now for some time. But I think creating, it's become a bit cliche, Glenn, but that experience is as important. Whether you are catering to the local market around really significant holidays and events that become part of your ongoing food and beverage activation calendar, or you're just trying to make sure that you're delivering a comprehensive breakfast with some degree of continuity on a daily basis to your overnight guests. So we work hand in hand with our procurement division too, to make sure that, on the meaningful global, more national MSA type deals that, we're giving our operators an opportunity to leverage that. But we also give a high degree of flexibility and autonomy. We want our food and beverage folks to be creative. It's a big part of who they are. That's where that passion comes from. And we encourage that.
That's absolutely awesome. And I'd love for all of you out there, remember, we've got great conversation here. And if I do say so myself, I'm asking some great questions. But I really want to know what your questions are, because they're much more important today. So, Richard, based on what he's just talking about there, how are you seeing this particular issue, and how are you working through it to find better success in F&B?
Yeah, I think obviously that locally sourced has been around for a long time, the farm to table.
Yeah.
But one of the things that I think is interesting is we start looking at how, Gen Z is starting to purchase and your various generations, right? They tend to lean towards, they'll pay for a nicer glass of wine and only have one.
Yeah.
Right. So you really have to start looking at your offerings and make sure that you're getting the experience that people are looking for. And I think we're starting to move into a direction where blending that locally sourced versus nationally or even globally recognized brands, because these younger generations, they view themselves as citizens of the world.
Right.
Right. We have to understand, how that's impacting us. They're starting to come into our buildings. Right. So sometimes it's about having the things that are recognizable, but viewed as premium, and then the local experiential element that makes it fun and entertaining to discover. You want to keep that sense of discovery with them, and it doesn't matter if it's food or beverage. I always lean beverage first, but if you get them at the beverage, you have a greater chance of getting them at the food, and then you
Right.
put the experience together, and they want to tell a friend. That's what you're really going for.
Yeah. Hey, listen, one of our friends is at companies. They're now doing they switched F&B to B&F, because
Sure.
it helps set their mindset for how they're going to be doing things. Adam, I'll get back to you in just a minute, but since we're talking about food and beverage, Jeff, how are you thinking about maybe like automating some stuff in the kitchen? I know that's a big trend for you guys coming up this coming year, because I'm thinking you'll be able to do a little bit more with less without impacting customer service.
Yeah, no, absolutely, Glenn. We a couple things that we're looking at, right? We're using our innovation in the kitchen to drive efficiencies through our Entegra Performance Kitchen. We're looking at sous vide cooking, auto cooking, anything with robots and that technology, all helping our customers to achieve that value and the cost savings, as well as another service that our Entegra Performance Kitchen provides is what we call time and motion studies, where we look at actually the efficiencies. We go to our clients, look at the efficiencies on how they're preparing the foods, and make suggestions to create value for them.
It's pretty cool. It just made me think of the movie The Founder. And I don't know if you've all have seen that, but it's about the creation of the modern McDonald's company, right? And there's some fascinating scenes in there with the McDonald's brothers setting up their whole system to create that flow in the kitchen to save minutes and then seconds off of how they do things in order to be able to save time and money and increase profitability. I think that's a really smart idea. So Brian, I'll give you one thought on it. How are you guys thinking about maybe setting up those kitchens, for example, in order to save that type of time? Did you get that, Brian? Are you there? Can you guys hear the other ones hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah, we can
All
hear
right.
you.
Yeah, I can hear you. Yep.
I'll just move on. Then, Brian, when you get your sound fixed, let us know. So let me just go to a question that we got from an audience instead. Richard, I'll ask you this one. How do we inspire that next generation of hotel employees to have the desire to offer that higher level of service that she says we were used to seeing pre-pandemic? That comes from Stephanie Hargett.
Well, okay, this is a very interesting topic, right? So if you think about what I was describing earlier as far as the kind of new pool of workers or the new generation, right? And if you view yourself as a citizen of the world, you want to be part of something bigger than yourself, you truly want to be valued and your voice is heard, and then you apply that to the basics of hospitality, where the customer centric, part of that equation is that you take yourself out of it. Well, if it's super important to you for your voice to be heard, how do you take yourself out of the customer service equation to be customer focused?
Right.
Right. So one of the things that we really started talking about a lot lately, and we're at the infancy of this, is this new, yes, people are coming back to the hotel business, but a lot of them are coming to it for the first time. How do we make them excited and intrigued about it? And one of the things I think all of us in the industry can do a better job is to kind of discover that nobility in our business that we sometimes forget about. People come to us for the most important moments of their lives. They come to us for weddings. They come to us for, celebrations of life. They come to us for birthdays and graduations. They trust us with very intimate personal items. On a professional level, they come to us to collaborate, to try to, to get more market share. They come to us to try to learn, right? There's a certain nobility that we have in this business that we sometimes forget. This can't get to be transactional. And we have got to get this new generation of workers excited to be part of our world. And one of the way, at the same time, when they get there and they realize how hard we work, they're surprised.
Yeah.
If you never cleaned 16 rooms in a day, you don't know what hard work is. If you haven't dealt with the evolving customer who has a different expectation about how their voice should be heard, and what their rate should get, you really don't understand what dealing with people means. So we have to take these folks when they come into our business and expose them to the nobility of it and teach them how to persevere through the challenges and get to the enjoyment of people. At the end of the day, when you connect, you learn. When you connect, your world gets bigger. And when you connect, there is a joy in this human element that we have, that is the heart of our business. And way too often over the last couple of years, we have been talking about who's showing up to work, how our flow increase can be. And we got to get back to the joy of hospitality.
Yeah, we sure absolutely do. Natasha, I want to hear from you in a second, because you're nodding so much, but I feel guilty that Adam hasn't spoken in a while. Yeah. So I want to go to him real quick.
If I could jump in, I'm really passionate about this topic. So if there are young people out there, I always say this, and you don't know what you want to do yet. You're confused. You're either still in school or you haven't picked a path. Do yourself a favor and get a job in a full service hotel. You don't have to have that job forever, but within those four walls, you are going to learn about many different facets of business. If you want to look for operations, you can be at the desk. If you're interested in food service, banquets or the restaurants or the bars. If you're interested in sales, there's a place there. If you're interested in maintenance, there's a place. I always said that we don't necessarily have to be the end result, but wherever you're looking to go, odds are you can get, the best training at a hotel or at one of our, training programs. And, throughout all of that, you learn a huge critical, benefit of business. And that's the customer service aspect that you will not find anywhere better in any industry. So that would be my advice to any young folks out there. Dip your toes in the water and you'll be amazed what you find.
Yeah.
Glenn, can I interject real quick?
Absolutely. Jump in.
Because I think Adam and I have the same passion about this discovery process, right? The other thing I think we have to promote as a business is I truly feel like we're one of the last bastions of the American dream. Mm-hmm. You can come, you can start at the bottom, and you can advance however far your skill set will take you. And you can get to the top and you can sit in any one of our chairs. You can sit in, and there's great, wonderful people who can do a better job than we do in our chairs that decide they want to be a hotel GM. And that's super important to them and very rewarding, right? So this upward mobility that we have in our business is undersold.
Yeah, absolutely. Both of you are right. I have plenty of things to say, but I gotta let Natasha speak there for a second.
I was going to say, it's like my favorite topic episode. Maybe Adam, Richard, we all need to catch up over this because yes, I love this topic. And Richard, what you were just saying too, I think at IHG we've got like great examples. Keith Bard just retired last year, started in the food and beverage at one of our Holiday Inns and worked his way up to our global CEO. And so I think that upward mobility is so key because I think it does really create an attraction to our industry. And I think that that's kind of fundamental about really just inspiring people to work in this industry. It is hard work, but the opportunities are endless. And I think, like you also said, we have such a unique opportunity where people are coming into our hotels for some of the best moments of their lives, for celebrations, but also for difficult experiences. Mm-hmm. And so our people are at the front lines of being able to deliver those experiences and create an unforgettable moment of service that is just, I think, so unique. So I think from my perspective, I think we've definitely got to drive that inspiration into the frontline colleagues. I think we've got to find a new way to engage and motivate colleagues because they're very different than they were 5 years ago. They are new to the industry. They've maybe never worked in a hotel before. And so how are we really engaging them in a different way, a unique way? How are we, just trying to tap into that and try to motivate them for whatever, drives them. And then I think we've also got to make sure that we're continuing to invest in the technology on property to remove the friction that enables them to focus on delivering that great experience. You don't want them kind of making 72 clicks to check someone in because that takes them away from delivering that great experience. So I think we've got to not only inspire them, but find ways to also make sure that we're removing those friction points so that they can deliver a superior guest experience.
Natasha, I love what you're saying because we talk a lot about removing friction from the guest experience, but we haven't talked about that from the employee experience point of view. That makes a whole lot of sense to me. Brian, can you hear us now? You good to go? Would you like to make a comment?
I can.
All right, great.
Yeah, thank you for that. And apologies for earlier. I just would say real quickly, the passion around our shared associates is real. Mm-hmm. It's why we all got into the business when we did. It's the driving force. It's the lifeblood of our industry. And finding a way to connect with today's employee is absolutely critical. When one of us figures it out, I'd love for them to share it with the rest of us because I don't know that there's secret sauce. I think a good segue into your question. For us, it starts with culture. I think you've got established, stable, credible that is centered around people, that's centered around opportunity, that's centered around rewarding for results, where there is an accountability piece. We all like to be accountable, but it's got to be delivered in the right way. That's progressive. All of those things we think matter. And I think as you start to try and differentiate yourself as an operator, as a brand, as an employer, those things are absolutely critical in today's marketplace. And so, again, we spend just a significant amount of time and a lot of investment in trying to identify where those opportunities are to try and differentiate ourselves in the employment space today.
Yeah, and you really have to because you're competing against jobs where people could work at home. You're competing against jobs where they could travel throughout the world. One way to kind of bring that together is I was thinking yesterday when we were talking to Chip on air, we got to do like we've talked about digital nomads. We got to do a hospitality worker nomad program where you can send, you would send people to different properties throughout your whole portfolio in different cities as they get, as they get restless and need to change. We need to bring back Ramblin'. That was big in the 70s, so we need to get that back in a formalized way. Jeff, I'm curious as to one other issue because we're starting to run low on time, and I don't want to miss it. I think one smart way you could actually increase profitability and dare I even say lower expenses, or at least not have an increase in expenses, is focusing a little bit more on that sustainability issue, right? So when you're thinking about that sustainability issue, what do you think are some of the best practices out there in order to save that cash or make more money?
Yeah, whether it is, moving away from plastic to aluminum or sustainable linen, whether it's farm-fed beef or whatever, those are solutions that we look at. One of the things, Glenn, that we really focus on waste management and waste reduction with our customers through a Lean Path program, which is a contracted vendor of ours, right? Mm-hmm. We look at also, those trends in higher performing foods and how do you work on maybe a plant forward initiative, which is what we've worked with, some customers are on. And I mentioned, the innovation around sous vide cooking and the bots, right? All trends trying to measure how we can improve efficiency and improvement from a financial perspective.
I like what you said about plant forward. Yeah.
Just one thing I wanted to mention. Yeah. Glenn, very proud. Entegra just announced its participation in what's called HARP, Hospitality Alliance for Responsible Procurement. We're with 5 global hotel companies, right? And this partnership, it really gives the industry an opportunity to really voice collectively and how do we prioritize sustainable practices using sustainable sourcing and with all the measures that we just talked about. So, very new to us, but we're really excited about that. And we're really excited about some of the value and innovation we can bring our customers.
That's pretty cool. And I did want to say, before we talk a little bit more about this issue, I love what you said about the plant focus thing, because I think there's a lot of people out there that would like to eat more plant-based meals, but don't necessarily have the tools or thoughts on how to get that done. I just went to, I was moving my son back into college earlier this week, and we went to the most amazing vegetarian Indian restaurant, and I had some fantastic doses and stuff. And I was so glad not to have to worry about meat, but still not give up that flavor. So if we could get more creative in the way that we do that and treat that as a real meal, I think that'll be terrific, which is why one of the major casino resorts in Las Vegas has a vegan restaurant that's been successful since its opening last summer. Brian, how are you thinking about the sustainability issue?
Yeah, a lot of what Jeff just referred to, I think as a space, as an industry, oftentimes we've been accused of being slow in a number of different areas. This is probably one of them. I think we've made great strides over the last decade, but when you think about everything from recycling programs to reducing water consumption, using sustainable materials in the development phase of the project, eco-friendly, LEED certified, all of those types of programs as we continue to kind of move forward. I also like what Jeff just talked about relative to the food piece. I think that's something that our team is exploring also as it becomes more popular in the marketplace.
Yeah, and for my part, I bought a Lomi this past fall, so I'm doing fast composting now around the house. Natasha, sustainability and stuff, I'm pretty sure is one of the major, tentpole tenets of IHG. So I know you're doing some amazing things over there. Maybe you could give us some of the folks out there how they could solve the success in 24 and make more money by being a little bit more environmentally conscious.
Yeah, sustainability is absolutely one of our core pillars of our strategy. And I think for us, especially with a heavy franchise population, we've got to think about what's sort of scalable. So, whether it's just some simple things like removing single-use plastic, like we implemented our bulk bath amenities in all of our hotels across the globe. But really, I think leaning into it from a cost savings perspective from our owners, right? So leveraging new technology of tracking usage so that we can reduce energy. Community solar and renewables just more broadly is a huge focus area for us. And there's some great programs out there where you actually can guarantee savings and by tapping into the community solar program. So I think it's just been continuing to find opportunities where we can scale these solutions and also drive owner value and owner benefit, as well as, this is where guests are moving as well, whether it's from a business perspective, as well as even, like we mentioned, plant forward, right? I think those will be trends that we will see as consumers demand it more.
Excellent. Adam, how about you, since you're focused, on a very specific type of property, it might be a little bit different for you.
Yeah, look, I think it's a lot of what Natasha said from the brand standpoint, for us, and, I always use the term focus on small wins. If you get 10 hotels or even 100 hotels that do everything that we talked about, it's great for those 100 hotels, but you're really not making that much of an impact across your entire system. So what can you choose, specifically with us, that can kind of, field the gamut between properties, conversion hotels that are 30 years old, 10 years old, to new construction properties, right? That's a big job, to take on. So I think we focus on, the things like, first of all, the thing that we focus on is not putting a lot of things in the room and cluttering the room. The less that you put in there, the less you have to worry about it.
Yep.
But when you think about, LED light replacement, you think about low flow water usage, you think about towel and linen reuse programs, these things seem like, elementary, but when you can scale that through 1,500 hotels, you can make quite a big, impact.
Yeah, for sure. Richard, I'm not going to ask you the sustainability question. I'm going to take a quick change. It's January, so people are claiming it's dry January and stuff like that. But the fact of the matter is, I think non-alcoholic drinks are really coming into their own as a major potential profit center going forward, right? And I know our friends over there at Entegra are thinking exactly the same thing. How do you see this playing out, not just January, but as more of a real thing?
Yeah, I think it's, it's already here at a lot of your, forward thinking restaurants. We use it quite a bit. We see it's interesting. I think the more engaging solution that you have, if you're food and beverage forward and you have a lot of pre-mixed drinks and fun stuff and crafted anything, when you add that zero or low proof cocktail option in there, it drives people to try it. And when it comes to the table and it looks just as fun as any other drink, that's the key point. You eat and drink with your eyes first. And when it's, when you read the description and it seems engaging in the menu, and then when you see it and it delivers, it feels like you're participatory as well. Because some people want that participation drink, but they don't want the alcohol. Right.
Yeah.
So zero proof and low proof is I think here to stay. I think the key point is I'd rather have two really well executed creative than have four of them. Like if you're going to do it well, do it at a high level, and make sure it's just as engaging as any other craft cocktail on your menu.
Hey, listen, I think most of the time when people have a really good cocktail, one of the first comments they have is, I don't even realize there's alcohol in that. So if you're doing it the right way, then you don't need that alcohol and you're opening yourself up to a different market segment. Right, Brian?
Yeah, look, I agree with everything Richard said. I agree with everything Richard said. The only thing I would add is in today's environment, if it's Instagrammable, it wins. And so, how we think about marketing, and Richard said it well, we all eat with our eyes, and then we take a picture with our phone, and then we tell the world that we enjoyed it. And so it's got to be quality. I don't see it taking over the menu, but having a couple options on the menu that are really well executed, really, really smart in today's, landscape.
Definitely not taking over the menu, and also partner with some micro influencers. Have some of those mocktails. They'll drive people to your restaurant. But I'll say anecdotally, being that I have twins that are nearly 20 years old, I don't see Generation Z drinking as much as people when I was 19, 20 did. All right. Not that I ever broke the law, but I see a real shift among that generation. They are finding enjoyment in different, healthier ways. And I think that this is going to be a great way to do it. Jeff, how do you see this particular issue? We'll give you the final word on this, and then we'll do a wrap up.
Well, look, we work with our customers and many of the facets the panelists have mentioned here. And we are seeing a trend, right? Maybe a moving away from, that type of drink to other more healthier type concepts where the alcohol is included or not. So we see the gamut, and we're here to provide solutions for all of the above.
Excellent. So quick final thoughts from everybody. Now I'm going to go classic. Adam, you go first. First name in alphabetical order.
Just first of all, thank you for this. I think this conversation has been wonderful, and anytime we can get ops in the mix, I'm always in. So thank you. But just really optimistic about 24. Really, enthused about working with our owners. More than ever. We really pride ourselves on our 360-degree partnership. With our owners and operators. We had some great. Although 23 was a tough year, we had some great wins, some unprecedented quality growth. We were able to open over 100 hotels in 2023. So we're 1,500 strong. We're looking to continue to grow, and we've got great franchisees that are right there with us. So thank you all, for having me, and really appreciate it.
Beautiful, Brian. How about you?
Yeah, Glenn, thanks for what you do. You do it incredibly well.
Thanks.
Always entertaining and always fun to be a part of the panel. So thank you. We just echo again Adam's sentiments. 2023, by many measures, was a banner year for us. A banner year in terms of comeback for our industry, but an exciting year for hotel equities. And I just came out of a team meeting before I jumped on this panel, kind of across our what we eloquently refer to as kind of our blended family, our partnership-driven family. And we're just really excited about 2024 and the growth and the excitement around our industry. So thanks for allowing us to talk about it with passion and purpose. We appreciate it.
I love that. Passion and purpose. Jeff, how about you, sir?
Glenn, thank you very much. I want to express the other panelist sentiment. You do a fabulous job. So
Thanks.
Privilege and honor to be here with the rest of this team here and allowing them to share their insights. Very insightful. Look, we certainly see shifts in consumer spending. We talked about it, localized and unique taste is the passion now. Sustainability is a big hot topic, obviously, and I don't think that's the eco-friendly practices are not going to go away. I think the enhanced use of technology is obviously here to stay, and the self-service data and analytics for us in the fluctuating marketplace where folks can see that full transparency into the best overall value and really see it real time. That's where I see the progression continuing in 24.
Beautiful. Richard?
Yeah, I think it's always energizing when you get together with a group like this, and it reflects on why our industry continues to bounce back after challenges, right? So, where 2020 were dark days, there's just so much opportunity in 24. The joy in hospitality, we'll get through this cycle. We'll be better, again, and we'll rediscover. We'll introduce ourselves to a new generation of hospitality people.
Hey, what amazes me, everybody, is every single time you think we've done all the operational efficiencies we could do, we've gone as far as we can. Boom, we break through another wall and a whole new world of opportunity exists in order to be more profitable at a lower cost. Natasha, some final words from you, please.
Yeah, so just echo, thank you, Glenn. You bring in a passion and energy to this conversation, so thank you. And I'm just really excited, ending 2023, taking that momentum into 2024. I think we've talked all about the opportunities, so just really excited to kind of leverage that and see what we can accomplish in 2024.
Awesome. Well, we are the luckiest people in the world. We are in the best business ever. And Adam, you were alluding to it earlier by talking about all the different disciplines. And that's why I love this business, because it's every business in America in one space. And it's eternally, we have plenty of opportunities. No matter what you do, you can find something you love within the hospitality industry. But what I love is that all of you stayed here today. And the other thing I'd love is if you want to download that PDF that I talked about earlier, learn all about these trends from our friends at Entegra. It should be right here in Zoom. You can also check it probably on the show page for this after this show is over, or just email me or any of the good folks over at Hotel Business, and we will help you. I want to thank you all so much for being here. This is incredible. I know I learned a lot. I look forward to seeing each and every one of you folks out on the road. So for Adam, Richard, Brian, and Jeff, Natasha, and myself, thanks for being here, and we hope we've helped decode your 2024 and solve some successes for you. See you all next time.